Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to another pick a card reading. Today, I was kind of wrecking my brain of what I wanted today's reading to be about. And in the end, I said, why don't I just let them surprise us? So, this is a surprise reading. I don't know what it's about, don't know what's going to come out. We will see. Whatever you are meant to hear right now will come out. So I've prepared 3 piles with 1 oracle card, or actually, this white deck is a very small deck that is comprised of tarot and oracle cards, so I use it as an oracle card, but I've picked one of those each along with a tarot card. I haven't looked at any of them. And to help you see which pile you are most drawn to, I also chose 3 little seashells that are fresh from the beach. Let me give you a close-up. This is pile number 1, group number 1. This is your seashell. Has some gray tones, some blue tones in there, and it is pure perfection. Look at her. This is group 1. Group 2, a little different, but equally as perfect. A little shiny shell. Look at her. Beautiful. That is group 2. And group 3, this is your shell. It's got some sunset colors, some oranges, some yellows. Still sand in the ridges. They are very fresh. Look at that. Beautiful. That is group 3. I contemplated showing you the tarot. These are the decks I'm going to be using. I contemplated showing you which ones they are, but no, I feel like it should be a surprise. If you know the decks, you might recognize them already. If not, then just let it surprise you. See which pile is calling to you the strongest, and you can find the timestamps in the description below, and I will meet you at your reading. Hi group 1, this is your reading. If you chose this beautiful gray bluish seashell, we're going to set it right up here so you know you're in the right place. And then we are going to turn these cards away, turn these cards around right away. That's where I was going. I'm excited. Can you tell? I'm excited. I have this giddy feeling as if I'm part of a surprise that's planned, even though I don't know what's coming out, but I'm still like, ready to surprise you. So let's see what comes out. Oh, we have the Hermit. Oh my goodness, we have the Hermit and the 10 of coins. Let me tell you, immediately I am picking up that you may be currently finding yourself in a phase of your life where solitude is becoming. I want to end the sentence there. Solitude is becoming. And that goes in so many, oh my God, that's beautiful. That goes in so many ways, because it's when you spend time with yourself, it is because you are becoming, but also solitude is becoming to you. The way that people use it as a compliment, it is becoming. This is Spirit saying, the time that you spend, the relationship that you foster with yourself and your higher self and your intuition, that journey is absolutely immeasurable. So don't try to focus on where am I at in my journey. It's like there's an ask here to not see your spiritual journey or your journey to get to know yourself as a map, because it's not that linear. You see all these constellations? That's not how it works. Sometimes you jump, sometimes it's not that linear. I can't even make it make sense, but It's something that happens in phases and waves, but it doesn't happen in a linear way. So there is definitely an ask to stick with it, even if you don't see the next step ahead of you. Solitude, your solitude is becoming. There's something where you're also being asked to be your own authority, because there's some innate knowledge that you have access to when you spend time alone, specifically when you meditate. There's something about your, because the symbol is actually very close to what it looks like when you take a look at your pineal gland. So there's something about activating that pineal gland, which is technically part of your third eye, which is something that you can activate through meditation, through solitude, through being present in the moment and present with yourself, spending time with your conscious self and examining that. There's something where that is going to ultimately lead you to your 10 of coins, which is a 10 of pentacles, which is ultimate material stability in a way where it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're going to be a billionaire, but material stability is a place where you don't fear lack, where you don't fear how are the next bills going to be paid, or even how your children's bills are going to be paid. There's a strong sense of security that you can achieve through something that you can innately access. And so if this is a surprise to you, then this is me telling you that you don't have to look for external validation or external input to reach this 10 of coins, meaning you don't have to rely on anyone else. Of course, there is an ask for co-creation always, but this is very much, there's something where the source is you. The source is you. You're not having to be a middleman in anything. The source is you. I hope that makes sense. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to pull some more tarot cards and see what else comes out. We're going to set these over here for now. Very contemplative energy. Okay, let's see what else comes out. We have the Five of Swords. Immediately I'm getting, if you are in a position, if you're in a position where you've recently lost a job or an opportunity, or you've lost some form of income, this is definitely saying that you don't have to, like, there's strong worries around that, and there's confusion with the Seven of Cups. But it's almost like you have, exactly, you have so many avenues to choose from to make up for what you've lost that there is really no need to worry. There are so many things that you could do. The Seven of Cups is actually indicating that there's almost an overwhelm of avenues that you can choose. Meaning, if you did lose an income, if you did lose a position, a job, working for someone else, there are other avenues, meaning other career opportunities that are like all suddenly available to you. And this may have happened in a way where, this may have happened in a way where you are being challenged to understand that you are the source. You are, that it's not about you trying to appeal to an employer needs to appeal to you. Same goes for not an employer if you want to work for yourself, right? It shouldn't be something, you shouldn't be focused on what can I do that gets me money, but what can I do that comes to me naturally? And this is absolutely, this is happening in divine timing with this Wheel of Fortune down here. Also, I didn't mention because it really just underlined what I had already said. This Eight of Cups is walking away from something, walking away from a previous employment, walking away from some kind of authority, some kind of, oh, I just heard overlord, some kind of overarching authority that was in charge of giving you stability, and this is a transition of you building your own stability instead of latching on to someone else's stability. Ooh. Yes. Oh my goodness. This is a surprise, and honestly, it's not a surprise. It's not, but it's a surprise reading, as in, this is what you need to hear. This is the confirmation that you need. Yes, yes, yes. Your emotions are so important when it comes to your financial stability, your material stability. Again, when we say material, oftentimes we always think money, and it doesn't have to be exactly that. Apply it as it resonates, but in today's capitalist society, money does equal stability for a lot of people, right? Because without money in a lot of markets, we can't create stability. But what we crave is not the money. The money is just it's the tool. But what we crave is the stability. And so what I'm seeing is you going through a phase of learning how to create stability for yourself in absolute autonomy. That's the word I was looking for. In autonomy from anyone else. Meaning that when your stability, the stability that you're working on creating won't be influenced by any external sources. And you're going to be successful in this, and you're going to be able to actually sustain more than just your own stability, which is why we have this 10 of coins ultimately, right? This is something that is like overarching story. I would not be surprised if we have people here that are thinking about starting their own business, and you possibly have been toying with the idea and never really stuck with it because you were employed somewhere else. So they were siphoning all your energy. At the end of the day, you didn't have any energy left to build for yourself. That relationship is or has been severed. And that allows you the space and the time, the opportunity. What is it? I don't know why this is coming up, but when it comes to like crime, it's always about the opportunity, the motive. I don't know, there's one that's missing, but that's kind of what it feels like a perfect storm of like, you have the time, why would you not try, right? There's something where it's like the perfect, especially with this Wheel of Fortune and the Seven of Cups, it is the perfect storm, because even though this causes confusion and we're a little bit overwhelmed, it is a storm, right? But is the perfect storm that situates you in a way to come out stronger and more stable than you went into it. And you come out with the Six of Wands and the Six of Coins, victorious. You come out of this ultimately having built something, being proud of yourself and being proud of what you built, and then again being able to share the resources of that with your loved ones, your family, or your community, or both. We have the King of Cups at the bottom of the deck because this is really connecting with the Hermit. This is really about you leaning into your emotional side, leaning into your intuitive side, and ruling with intuition. I love this reading. Let's get some dice. Yes. See, this is why I keep talking about work. This is the 6th house. The sixth house is the house of daily routines, and it is our job. Doesn't necessarily have to be our career, but it can be our job. Stability, Taurus is all about stability. And then we have the moon, which is it's an energy that waxes and wanes, right? The moon waxes and wanes. It's an energy that swells and that shrinks. And so that's something that you may have experienced in the past, that stability. As soon as you let go, or you let go of an employer, someone else that provides that stability, you feel the impact of losing or gaining stability very strongly in your emotions. It's very much tied to your emotional, mental health, possibly, especially with the sixth house, because the sixth house also represents health. So I am seeing that there is just this transition, this transformation that is happening when it comes to you creating stability and health and safety for yourself. Beautiful. Let's get into some oracle cards. Oh, you did not see it, but this card absolutely immediately jumped out. Yes. I love this because, okay, at the bottom of the deck we have change, and that is the transformation I talked about, and this Taurus energy is nourishment. Absolutely, absolutely. This is very important. So let me tell you, if you are currently in a position where you have lost a job and you're very much focused on like, okay, what's next? How can I create that stability? How can I create that stability? Understand that you can create that stability in every moment. It is scary to not know where your money is coming from, but you have the control to take a moment to call back your energy and to understand that you are safe in the moment and that you will figure it out and that you will move forward being nourished because you are becoming. Your solitude is becoming. There's definitely something, again, because I'm feeling called for you to take a break. There's very much a strong reminder here to meditate, because I do think that there are things that will come to you through meditation where you're going to be like, oh, I could try this, I could try that. The options are endless, but you need to you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you're in a position where those ideas, where that creativity has a space to come out, because you're going to benefit from it so much when it finally does. Let's do... trying to figure out what I want to do. Let's do an archetype card to kind of see what we're focusing on going forward. Look at that. Oh, I love this. Shapeshifter. Skill in navigating through different levels of consciousness, ability to see the potential in everything. That is the Seven of Cups. And that's the thing, the Seven of Cups is typically overwhelm and confusion, but that's why I felt like it's a perfect storm. You're supposed to go through this because you are supposed to recognize that you have options. The shadow attribute is projecting any image that serves your personal agenda in the moment. That is, if you were to... all these different paths that are available to you, whether you've lost your job or not, because this can also just be the emotional detachment of you're very miserable at the job that you're at and you want to walk away, but then you're feeling confused with, overwhelmed with options. So that would be kind of looking at options solely based on where do I make the most money, or where is it? It's not focused on... it's not a holistic approach. And that's, I think, something that you're being pushed towards with this Hermit card. You're being pushed towards a holistic solution to creating your own stability, because that's where the That's where the most money is for you. But trying to search out where's the most money for me actually leads you into dependency. Shapeshifter. I love this because really there's a lot of things that you're going to be good at, that you're going to do well at, but it's really about doing something that has your heart, where you're really invested in it. I love this. Let's get one last oracle card, and then hopefully I can keep these a little bit snippier, shorter today, because this was so straightforward. I enjoyed this reading. My goodness. What's going on? Dive in. And I'm going to take this one too because it's sticking out. See? I mean, please. Please. This reading is so straightforward. It is ridiculous. All three of these cards. Who's there? You are meant to spend time in solitude. There's something that you are going to be tapping into through solitude. And it's like getting a secret recipe for something. I don't know what it is, but you're getting some kind of innate knowledge, some kind of downloads through your pineal gland when you meditate that is really going to make things a lot clearer for you. And dive in. This is asking you to dive into that solitude. I mean, we're just, look at how similar these cards even look. We're just repeating at this point, and that's when I know that the reading is complete. So I'm going to leave it there. It's a beautiful confirmation. Spend some time, 3-3, spend some time meditating. If you have trouble meditating, try doing a guided meditation. Really, you don't even have to, if you absolutely struggle and meditating sounds like a nightmare to you, try to find something where you can just kind of calm your energy down, and something where you kind of zone out, whether that's puzzling, whether that's coloring in a coloring book, painting, just something where you can kind of like zone out and not be so consumed in planning and figuring out next steps, because that's when things are really going to kind of bubble up for you, especially if you're thinking about creating some art. There's a lot that's going to come to you if you just create that space for it to come in, for it to bubble up, because that's the thing, it's not coming in, it's coming out of you. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that this was interesting and that it resonated, and I do hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi Group 2, this is your reading. If you chose this very cute, shiny, pearly shell, I'm sure it has a way more official name than pearly shiny shell, but I wouldn't know what that is. That doesn't hinder me from loving it wholly. I don't know why that was so dramatic, but there's a message in everything. So we are taking a look at your surprise reading that can really encompass a lot of things. So I'm not going to try to guess. We're just going to jump right into your reading and turn around these cards. Ooh! Wow. So we have the Fool and we have the Four of Swords. Interesting. Two very different energies, because the Fool is ready to jump into action. The Fool is ready to do. The Four of Swords is taking a pause, taking a break. I just heard reveling in stillness. I don't know about that, but that's what I heard. If you are someone that is typically more on the outgoing side, more active, this is a reminder to pay attention to when you need to recharge, because you don't want to... There's something about being performative in a jovial way. I do not even use that word, but being performative in a jovial way. You might feel like it's your responsibility. Oh, you might feel like the mood of the room is your responsibility, whichever room you step in. And it might feel you leaving really exhausted at the end of social interactions. And yet I ask you, when you are in a room by yourself, do you employ the same care for the energy in the room? I hope that makes sense. So imagine a room with just a handful of people, and you somehow feel like it's your responsibility to make sure that everyone is on the same page mood-wise, that we're all like okay, that we're all feeling included, that we're all, I don't know why I'm in this room too, but that's what I'm feeling. The kind of person that is kind of, I don't necessarily want to say class clown just because it's the fool, but it is the person that is very observant and that can tell when, let's say, two people in the other side of the room are having a conversation where there's some miscommunication happening and one person is saying one thing and the other person thinks they're saying another thing, and they might not even be aware that this miscommunication is happening, but you do. You're aware, even though you're on the other side of the room, you're aware. And you're just picking up a lot of social cues. I think you do a lot of masking because you're picking up on a lot. So you're constantly managing. Imagine like a room full of, people don't really do that anymore, but in the 90s, people used to do like spinning plates. And every now and then you have to go back to a plate because it's losing its spin, and you have to spin and then you have to run to another one. That's what I'm picking up on. If there's a room full of people, you're just running around and you're like nurturing the energy of the room. And yet, when you are by yourself, you don't put that same energy into yourself, because by the time you are by yourself, you're really exhausted from doing that for everyone else. So my challenge to you, surprise, my challenge to you is, what would happen if you don't control the room? And if I'm talking and you're kind of like, what? I don't do that. I think you kind of do. You might do it subconsciously. I think most of you do it very actively and you're very aware, and it exhausts you, and it's probably why you kind of have gotten more picky over who you spend your time with. But some of you do it very subconsciously and you're not picky enough. What would happen if you don't take control of the room? If you don't make sure everyone's attention needs are met? If you don't make sure everyone is laughing at the same joke? If you don't make sure that everyone is not mad at you? What happens if you were to just recklessly sit in a room and not do anything, even though it's filled with people? Not try to make them see you in any certain way, not try to make them anything. What would happen? People just do. The only thing that you're creating when you're acting that way, when you're masking like that, is you're creating a false sense of control within yourself. Woof. I was not ready for that myself. But yeah, there's something about really gripping onto a sense of control. And also something about always having one foot out the door. You might leave early when you're at functions. You might leave early because as soon as that battery runs out, you're like, oh no one dare see me like this. I'm getting like this vibe of Fiona and Shrek when she like in the first one when she's hiding, because she's like, no, nobody can see me in my ogre form. And look at, there's even like this sliver in the middle is green. Nobody can see me like this. And yet the people that love you, they would want to see you in any shape, in any form. Okay, let's put these aside and we're going to see what else comes out. What else do you need to know? Let's talk about this. We have the Page of Wands. Oh, we have the Hermit. If you want to spend time alone, you really should focus on doing so. You don't need to feel guilty. You also don't need to feel like you have to start something new. Like you might be like in an in-between phase, and you might be getting like hits of restlessness where you're like, oh my God, I've been so stagnant, and then you kind of roll around in guilt of like, oh, I've been so stagnant, I need to get out, I need to do this, I need to do that. And there's something about letting that restlessness build up to the point where it moves you. Not the guilt, don't let the guilt move you, but the restlessness. Woo! Look at that, 7 of Pentacles. Nice, nice. I'm not mad at it. And she looks just as cozy as this lady in the bed. There's something you got to do it your own way. But also there's something about holding on to your resources, not giving everything away. And that's what I was talking about, like when you expand your energy to the point where when you're alone, you don't have any of that really sweet energy left for yourself. I think this is talking about like saving some of that for yourself for when you're alone. Let's keep going. What about this Page of Wands? Ace of Cups. Oh, I feel this strong desire. And this is, I mean, it's a very natural, but still, like, as I'm receiving this energy, I feel this very strong desire of you wanting to be seen. And that's exactly what I was talking about, of, like, the desire that you have is for you to be seen, not just the mask that you wear, but for you to be seen in both areas, in both arenas. You might not necessarily, and it's funny because when I started this reading, I said you might be more outgoing, but I think in actuality, the more I'm getting to hang out with your energy, I think you are masking a lot in the ways that you might be an extroverted introvert. Right? There are people that can kind of flip-flop both ways, and I do think that you put on a good show, but truly you are actually very, you're nothing without your rest. You're nothing without your recharge, but that's because I think you take on too much responsibility when you are out interacting. We have the Justice card underneath the Hermit. And let's get the last one for the 7 of Pentacles. The King of Swords. Yeah, this is about boundaries. Absolutely. Look at the 9 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. This is so about boundaries. Surprise! You need to work on your boundaries. Sorry, I'm just laughing because they give me the weirdest images. I saw like Wheel of Fortune kind of style. Let's work on your boundaries. Yeah, you need to focus on keeping some resources to yourself. And not, I think when you're out and when you are interacting with people, it comes from the urge for you to over control comes from a place of being aware that the situation is technically already exhausting you. And so trying to over control, you think you're doing yourself a favor, when in reality, I think you're really just firing on all cylinders, and you're just very irritated. You get very irritated. And I don't think you would necessarily word it that way, because it's not like you're irritated by things people say. But you know how sometimes when people have sensitive skin and they get in contact with an irritant, and it like flares up, it puffs up, and there's like spots and hives. Your need to control social situations it comes from a place of irritation, I think. And yet at the same time, you want to connect with people. I see that. You want to, but you get to a point where you probably exhaust yourself, and then it's like, okay, I have to, or you're about to get to a point where you're going to be so exhausted where you're like, no, I have to cut this out, and I have to enact my boundaries. And that kind of then makes and trust me, I say this without any judgment, because I have experienced this kind of energy before, where then all of a sudden, everyone outside of yourselves feels like an other. Everyone feels like, no, like, look at how she's hiding away. Yeah, see, she just wants to be alone. She just wants to be alone, be left alone. But look how she's hiding away, and everyone else in the background is other. And in general, the Nine of Wands is overcoming obstacles, and it's just this exhaustion. Everyone else is becoming exhausting, and so you can't even cherish the people that typically fill up your cup, because you're so exhausted from masking. And the only way to restore balance is for you to completely pull back, even though you want to. And that's probably very confusing, because on one hand, part of you is telling you, no, you need to go out and explore, and you need to connect with people because you're craving connection. But the way that you go out, it doesn't fulfill that need, because you don't actually let anyone touch the cup, right? You get this craving, okay, I have a craving for human connection. And then you go out with your cup, but you keep it, you have such a tight grip on it, and you're so concerned about everyone else's cup that you don't actually let anyone get close enough to actually connect with your cup. And so then, at the end of the day, people leave, their cups are fine, and yours is bone dry. And so the only way to rectify that is for you to remove yourself from other and be like, nope, I'm just doing me today, just me, solitude. And that then brings some balance, because it fills your cup again. But what you really need to do is, when you do go out and interact with people, you need to be aware of your boundaries and be aware of what's in your control, what's not in your control. Where does it make sense to... It's really difficult to put into words what it is that I'm picking up, because it is more so... It doesn't feel like the normal amount, and I don't even like saying that, but it doesn't feel like a healthy amount of processing that's happening when you're out with people, especially with people that are maybe just acquaintances and not just your close friend circle. But you know, when you're out in public, it doesn't feel like the normal, or again, I don't like normal, I mean like a healthy amount of processing. Like, it feels like you're taking in more information than you need to, because you're hyper vigilant is what it is. In any kind of social interactions, you're hyper vigilant. So you're processing so much information at once so that you can move accordingly. And it's just really exhausting. And what you need to do is figure out ways to have your boundaries in place so that you can go out. And this can be many different things, because it really kind of depends on what it is that's irritating you. But if it is purely energetic, there are ways to protect yourself. There are oils that you can use. There's jewelry that you can wear. It all comes down to intention. So whatever intention you set on whichever oil or jewelry you use, or even like if you are not very up to date with your spiritual hygiene, even just wearing a head covering can help, just in a way where you can kind of like distance yourself within the crowd, because you otherwise have a tendency to kind of like melt into it. And so setting something in place that can kind of contain that, I think, is really, really necessary for you. Wow, okay, I got kind of lost in that. We need to move on. Oh my goodness, yes, absolutely. You're a sensitive baby. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that, but I had to say it. It came into my head. But you are a little bit. You know that audio? I just a baby. And it goes all angry. I just a baby. We have the first house, we have Moon, and then we have Cancer, which the Moon rules Cancer. So this is double sensitive energy. And with the first house is about you. This is about how can you fulfill your emotional needs, because obviously when you go out and interact with people, that is not happening. But you also need to get to a place where you can make sure that your emotional needs are clear to you, so you don't act when it's too late, right? So that you enact your boundaries as you go, and not afterwards when you're getting home and you're like, oh my God, that was too much. But no, while you're in the room or in the bar or in the restaurant, you have to find ways to kind of like create some energetic distance. So first house, again, it's how you show up in the world. It's all about you. The Moon is rules our emotions, and Cancer is just Cancer very much fits too with this masking energy, because, you know, hard shell, soft core, all that stuff. But I do see you wanting to connect with people. You really want to. You might even see people connecting, like you see it on social media or you see it in movies, and you're like, it never feels like that for me. When I'm out there, it doesn't feel like that. And that's okay, because honestly, I think connecting with people, especially in groups, is extremely stressful for pretty much most people. It's very stressful, and it's a difficult environment to manage, but there's something where you are over managing and you kind of need to pull back the reins on that. Okay, let's pull some oracle cards, because I am just repeating myself. Oh, acceptance. I love that. I love that because it is talking, and it's a 4, talking about stability and assessing. Assessing is a lot of what you do. I love this acceptance though, because it's like, on one hand, you are longing to be accepted the way you are, and on the other hand, you're masking a lot. So it's difficult for people to, like I said, to reach this cup. And so there is something, it's a very difficult, this is a very difficult reading, because on one hand, you need to dial down the control and trust more, but on the other hand, you also need to enact boundaries that are very stable. So it's almost like, let's say you live in a little castle that has all this land around it, and you're very vigilant and always paying attention at who's getting too close to your land. And there's something about, it's okay to let people on your land, but also be very strict about the boundaries of your castle. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if it does. But acceptance is like, you need to let some people in, There's something where you, like, your solitude is very important because it's how you recharge, but you also need to get to a point where you are able to not overextend your energy, so you don't have to recharge for such extended periods of time or in such an extreme way. And there's something about really just accepting social situations the way they play out. You cannot control everyone, and nobody expects you to. Nobody, if the mood turns sour in a room, nobody's gonna look at you and be like, ugh, that was clearly group two's doing. Like, that's not happening. That's just happening in our head. Oh yeah, let's get you an archetype card and see where this is headed for you. True. Oh, look at this. Exactly. You are like a party martyr. And it doesn't have to be a party. It can be any kind of social situations, whether that is at work or whether that is in school, any kind of situations where people are kind of like grouped together. The light attribute is learning the transcendent nature of service to oneself or a cause. But the shadow attribute is addiction to self-pity. And that's a little bit rough, because it's not just that. It's not the addiction necessarily to self-pity, but it's about offering yourself up, but for what and to who? Just for your own control in the moment is what it seems like you're doing. So we kind of want to move away from that, but to highlight the light attribute, because that is a way that you can move through this without guilt or shame, where you can say, you know what, yes, this is something that I do, but here's the positive aspect, which is learning the transcendent nature of service to oneself or a cause. The transcendent nature of you trying to make people feel like you, this is definitely a positive aspect that you have. You're just using it as a defense mechanism, I think. And I think we want to change that. We want to have our boundaries as our defense mechanism, and then have the lighter energy as just a charming thing that you do and not a defense mechanism. I want to get you another archetype card to see where we can take this energy, because I do think that there's potential for so much growth. Where can we take this energy, this martyr energy? Where can we take this into a positive? What do we get? Shapeshifter. This card just came out in the first reading. I love this. Look at us. Just a whole bunch of shapeshifters hanging out. Shapeshifter. Skill at navigating through different levels of consciousness. Ability to see the potential in everything. And that actually fits beautifully, because this defense mechanism, what you use as a defense mechanism, is still a skill that you have. It's still something that you're really good at, which is what I was talking about earlier, which is the observational skills and the way that you pick up on things that not everyone picks up on. That allows you to go into any situation and really like be aware in a way that you don't have to have on all those defenses. Because anytime you want to, you can tune into that awareness and be like, okay, what do I need to present right now? What do I need to be right now in order for me to feel comfortable? So it is definitely a beautiful strategy that you have. You just need to tone it down a little bit and recognize that you don't have to step into that energy constantly. It's just you can benefit from it when it feels right. I feel like that's a little vague, but I hope it makes sense. It's kind of like when you have a superpower where it's like you don't always want to be acting in that superpower. You just want to use it when it feels appropriate. And I want to point out the shadow attribute of this shapeshifter card. It says projecting any image that serves your personal agenda in the moment. That, I think, is what you do when you act out this martyr energy from a shadow place. And it's not so much to get people to do certain things, but it's for you to feel in control. Projecting any image, so masking, that serves your personal agenda, which is a sense of control in the moment. Oh, look at that, shapeshifter and pass between, and offering. At the bottom of the deck, we have be here now. Strong reminder for you, be here now. Offering is interesting. Oh, because of acceptance and because of this Ace of Cups, that's why it's on this side as well. Look at these three together. Offering, Ace of Cups, and acceptance. You have this desire to connect with people. Again, this is kind of like an urge that you're feeling, but it doesn't feel like you get that urge or that need met because you're so protective and defensive over who actually gets access to you without the mask. And so this is asking you to consider the fact that accepting someone's presence is also a way of you offering love. There's another card from another deck that is coming to mind where it says there is giving in receiving and receiving in giving. So it has to go both ways. And I think your offering would be the acceptance of letting someone in. And then pass between is picking up on that shapeshifter concept that I was talking about, of knowing when to utilize this skill that you have versus when you are weaponizing that skill. And I mean weaponizing, I don't think you're using it against other people, but you're using it in a defense mechanism. So, I'm trying to remember if there was any other decks that I should be pulling, but I don't think so. I think that is it. Yeah, I think we covered it all. Okay. So, overall, your surprise reading is all about enacting boundaries that keep you from exhausting yourself when you are in social situations. And also, now that I'm thinking about it, this shiny shell, it feels very much like a point to be made. That the shell is so tiny and shiny, beautiful to look at, but it's also fragile, you know? And it's kind of see-through. I don't know. Haven't fully formed that point that I'm trying to make, but it is standing out to me somehow, especially with this moon energy and the Cancer energy. This matches very well. So maybe you can think of a point to make there. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that this was interesting, and I hope it confirmed some things, and I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi Group 3, this is your reading if you chose this gorgeous yellow, orange, beige seashell. Look at it, it almost looks fake. I'm just so in awe. It almost looks too perfect to be real, but that's Mother Nature for you. Okay, we are taking a look at, this is your surprise reading, so whatever comes up is meant for you. We've had some good ones, so let's see what comes out for you. We are going to take a look at these cards immediately. Oh, we have the Tower. Oh, we have Jupiter. I like this because immediately when I turned over this tower, I'm like, this is not a scary tower though. And so the fact that we have Jupiter come out right next to it, yes, this is a tower that is beautiful. This is a tower that, okay, the tower in itself is a moment of upheaval, but this is upheaval in a beneficial way. Jupiter is an expansive energy. Jupiter is a giver. Jupiter wants to see you succeed. Jupiter wants to see you learn through experience. And so this, I'm especially because this is the Leaning Tower of Pisa, I am getting travel vibes. I am getting exploration, understanding, connecting with your ancestry perhaps, returning to something, returning to some kind of spiritual practice, maybe returning to some kind of spiritual practice that is linked to your ancestors. There's also just something about you having a time ahead of you where you are very charming. This, I'm telling you, this is like the sweetest tower I've ever felt. This is very like, oh, and then the wind comes and it carries you along on a bed of flowers. Okay. Let's see what else I can pick up. This has been building for a minute because of this teapot. This has been building. And you perhaps even are waiting for it. You're like, you might be like, about damn time. It might be some kind of dam that is broken, which then I'm seeing water rushing, water rushing. This almost looks like a waterfall as well. Water rushing would indicate a lot of emotions being unleashed, but positive emotions I'm feeling, especially since we're talking about a surprise. This is literally, I just remembered, I was like, oh yeah, this is a surprise reading. This is quite literally, if there's any two cards together that would be surprise, it is these, the Tower and Jupiter. That is a surprise. Okay, the other readings, I feel like I talked a little bit longer about these, but because this feels so literal, I want to get into your reading and see what the surprise is about, because this is quite literally the most surprisey reading so far. And it's the last one, so it is the most surprisey. I'm digging this energy though. What is this surprise? You're gonna like it. What is this? We have the Queen of Cups. We have 19, which in this deck it's Oracle and Tarot cards. So this is Wormhole. Which that card is represented by, let's do one at a time, please. That card is represented by Serendipity, Shortcut, Secret Link. It's interesting because it's Shortcut and Secret Link, and this one says Eternity and Longevity. Very two very opposing energies there. Oh, we have the Devil. Watch out, we have the Devil. I don't know why I said that. Okay, we're doing 3 each row. Oh, you know what I think your surprise is? I think your surprise is something that you've... I wanted to say longed for, but they said lusted over. The surprise is something that you've lusted over, especially with this Devil. Something that you've spent time with, like either it's an idea, I don't know if it's an idea or a person or a scenario or a timeline or a job. It's something that you've spent time fantasizing about. Like it's something where you're like, oh, this is something that I'm gonna think about just to like entertain myself, and yet this card wanted to come out and it couldn't make up its mind, and now it did. Something where you're like, oh, this is kind of like my guilty pleasure. And you've spent so much time with it that I think it almost feels like a fantasy, that when it comes into your life, you're going to be like, what? What do you like that? This can't be real. And yet it's curious because it's like, well, you're the one who spent so much time manifesting it, but you didn't see it as manifesting. You just saw it as fantasizing. We have this Queen of Cups with the Page of Wands. Like, there's an emotional resonance. And so if you think about the Queen of Cups and the Page of Wands, which is a fire energy, imagine a tea light, because the page is the first of the court cards, so it's a smaller energy. But imagine a tea light over a big chalice of water. Eventually that tea light is going to warm the water. It is going to get hot. And that's what was happening here. And if you have that tea light going for long enough, the water is going to get warm to the point where it might even steam a little. And then when the steam rises, it's small water particles that leave the cup that travel somewhere else. And that's something that you were doing. You were combining desire, possibly in a sexual way. So whether that was just the feeling of desire, or whether that was linked with some kind of action, but there is something where you are using your sacral chakra in combination with your heart chakra, with your emotions. You're using passionate desire with emotional desire, and the two combined, very, very potent, in a way that's going to bring something in. Oh, okay, there's 3 cards that just like flipped over. I'm not taking them, but we are going to take a peek at them and put them back. We have the Sun. We have, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have the Sun, we have 16, which is satellite, which is all about calling something in. You lit a fire and it's caught, look at how they're racing towards. And then we have the 7 of Cups. In this card, in this deck, it stands for response, impermanence, and anticipation. I like that, anticipation. Okay, we're going to put these back. But I think that's just a little sideline confirmation of something that you've been calling in, and I don't think you've realized it. And that's why when it does come in, it's like, what? This thing is exactly what I wanted. How could anyone possibly know? It's like, well, yeah, because you manifested it. Congratulations. Ooh! We have the Lovers. Doesn't mean it has to be about love, but I think, you know, take it if it resonates. If you're like, ugh, love, then this is not about love, but then this is about some kind of opportunity or some kind of creative endeavor, something that you've just been dreaming about, where it's like, this is the ideal thing that would nourish me right now. This is the ideal thing that would make me feel loved and supported and held. This is beautiful. Oh my goodness, we have the, this is beautiful energy. And specifically, absolutely, if I could shake you right now, I would, because I'm like, you did this. Look at his hands. That's exactly how my hands are right now, because he's like, come on, jump. But I'm like, look at what you did by just like laying in the dark and being like, I'm gonna wander off into a little dreamland where everything is exactly the way I want it to be. And then you woke up. This is, and I almost felt called to say it earlier, and I kind of stopped myself because I'm not a big fan of the ideology of timeline jumping. But if that is something that you focus on timeline shifting and quantum leaping and jumping and all that stuff, then this is it. Then this is you jumping. And I don't judge that ideology. I just think that it's a little abstract, and I think we all have the ability to do that from one day to the next, but it's less theoretical. In any case, that doesn't really have any place here. But what I want to say about your reading is that it's beautifully intuitive. This is a very natural flow of desire into creating it in the material, which is beautiful. And you're getting help from outside because the Tower as well as Jupiter are very external energies. The fact that we have the moon, I got so excited and totally distracted by the Magician. The fact that we have the moon come out underneath the Devil, incredible sense of control, incredible emotional control. And yet, I don't think that you are aware of this. I don't think you are aware of your manifesting powers, and that your manifesting powers really lie in you envisioning, like you having fun with it, like feeling your way through a fantasy really helps you, especially like a passionate fantasy. It really helps you build that world, which allows you to see it, which then makes it real. I hope that makes sense. Let me roll some dice. I'm trying to see, because I'm looking at this Devil and the moon, and I am picking up on, because I don't think that you fully are aware of it. I think you're also therefore not aware of where you are actually creating emotional blocks that keep you away from. Interesting. Okay, so I think what happens is that you might get the notion of like, oh yeah, I want to manifest, or yeah, I'll try this. You try different things, and then you don't see it in your material world, and you get really discouraged. And you try to stick with it, but as soon as you're emotionally discouraged, you kind of detach. And then once you're detached, that's actually kind of what brings it in. Because our detachment to the outcome. But this is where you have to be careful, because you can't detach out of spite. You can't be like, oh, this never works and I don't believe it anymore, and so what? Because that's what I'm seeing, what I was saying earlier about like there being this effortless flow of creating into the material that comes from you really tuning in to how your flow works. So please don't get attached to other people's examples. When you see people talk about manifestation online, or when you see people talking about timeline jumping or anything like that, don't get too attached to how it worked for them or how they have proof, or how don't get caught up in that, because that can emotionally keep you anchored. Especially the way she's like tied up with a chain to this giant rock. That can keep you emotionally anchored to where you are now. When in reality, what you need to do is follow that flow of you just having fun with it, having like a fantasy. And honestly, especially because look at this image, she's like listening to something. So whether that is listening to a podcast or listening to, I'm gonna say it, if you're listening to freaky audio, girl, keep going. It's doing something. If you're listening to, spicy content, and imagining and just keep going, because it's working. There's something that's going to come into your life that's like exactly like you fantasized, and you're going to be like, what the heck? Fantasies are powerful. Exactly. My point exactly. I love these dice. We have the 12th house. We have Aquarius. And we have the North Node. The 12th house is this. This is so 12th house. It is the unseen. It is the time that we spend alone. It is, 12th house can also be devil and moon vibes. This can also, because the 12th house is a dark space. It's kind of like the attic of our chart. You know, there can be a really romantic vibe to it, to that solitude, but there can also be a very creepy vibe to it. But the 12th house, along with Aquarius, is just telling me that there's something that you can create out of that darkness. It's like taking dark matter and making it into something. And then we have the North Node, which is something where it's like that is your focus. That is where your focus is there because you're using that to create. I really feel like you're literally taking like dark matter and creating it. Like you're just like playing around with it as if it was Play-Doh. And then before you know it, you have like this whole scenario. And for you, it's like you're just playing. It's so playful. This is such a playful magician. It's such a playful energy. So that when this comes in, it's like, whoa, that came straight from my brain. How did that even happen? That happened because of you. Let's get some oracle cards. I'm so excited for you. I want to know what this is. Because it's definitely, I mean, I asked, what is this surprise? And then all they told me is like how you're making it happen and how they want you to focus on not comparing your journey to building something to anyone else's journey. So they're not really telling. I'm going to pull another one in a minute just to see if we can get any info. But it's probably going to be different for everyone. So that's probably why they did not give me any details. Sorry. Abundance and boundaries at the bottom of the deck, but we are taking abundance. Of course there is abundance. Look at this, is like your fantasy. This is how abundant your fantasy world is, and it's beautiful. That's the place that you create from. Absolutely beautiful. You're such a creator. Oh my goodness. Almost dropped my cards. Let's get an archetype card for group 3. There it is. Look at these, go so well together. We have child, nature, friendships with animals, communication with nature, spirits. We're not going to read the shadow attribute because it doesn't apply, but I want to get a second one of these because I want to see where we're headed. Where is this surprise taking us? Because this is again just showing me that you're, look at, she's holding a rabbit and she's holding a fox. You're just, this energy comes very natural to you. This creative energy, this creating, it comes so natural to you. So don't be distracted by anyone else because you don't need anyone to tell you how to do it because you're doing it naturally. It's whenever you compare yourself to others that you anchor yourself to someone else's reality, and then it doesn't work. This card came out. We have Judge, balancing justice and compassion, managing the fair distribution of power. And I think Judge, this is going to what I was saying right now about not comparing yourself to others. Don't judge others' process because their process doesn't apply to your reality. Yeah, you need to employ your own. We saw boundaries, but your own boundaries, not necessarily like physical boundaries, but your own boundaries in terms of, like, you know, there are the laws of the universe. And then, especially when it comes to spiritual realms, you know, a lot of us, because there is no way to really prove how things work, we have theories. And essentially, most sciences are comprised of theories. And so there's something where you need not, I don't even know why I said it like that, but I had to. You need not tie yourself to other people's rules, because those rules do not apply in your universe. There's something about that where it's like someone else's law doesn't apply to what you're doing. So don't let that take hold in your mind, because what you do naturally, you do this so naturally, and you might have a strong connection. You might have earth energies or earth placements. You might have, because we're talking about ancestors, you might have strong connections with ancestors that were very much tied to nature and Mother Nature. There's something about that where it's like there's something where it just flows naturally. There's something that just naturally flows with your energy, and attaching yourself to other people's judgment or laws or explanations just kind of disrupts that natural flow. Okay, I'm gonna pull one last oracle card. Let's see what comes out. Oh, we have seed. Seed to me means that you've already planted this seed. You've planted the seed a long time ago, and then all you need is the sun. Oh my God, that's beautiful. You have planted the seed, and then all you need is the sun for the seed to grow, the warmth, right? And the sun is external. This is external. Let's try and get my other deck. I want a sneak peek of what the surprise is, because they still didn't tell us. But in any case, I think it's beautiful, and it's going to be bringing a lot of abundance and a lot of like comfort with your own abilities. Once you recognize, wow, I made that happen with my emotional willpower and with my desires, you're going to be like, wow, what else can I make happen? What is this surprise specifically? Can you tell us anything specifically? My eyes were drawn to the Lovers again. So for some of you, it definitely is a partner. What is this surprise specifically? Ooh! They're like, don't worry about it, sweetheart. Don't worry about it. Oh yeah, they don't want to tell me. But look at them. They're like, stop. They're like, it's not funny. Sorry. But we have the Nine of Pentacles. And they're basically also reiterating, first of all, they're telling me to stop, but also reiterating to not block yourself by following someone else's ideas. That's what these wands are. Nine of Pentacles is that it's going to make you feel good about yourself. And I do want to point out at the bottom of the deck, we have the Empress. It's going to be different for everyone. They don't want to tell me what it is, but I do think that you're going to like it. You're going to have a good time with this surprise, and this is why it's coming in. So it has to be something that you are anticipating or that you like. So you probably have an idea of what this is. Let me know what it is, because I'm curious, because that might also be a way for you to kind of solidify that, right? To write it out, whether it's to yourself or in the comments, but write it out in your journal. Maybe that will help you actually keep track of it, because that happens a lot, that we don't become aware of our manifesting powers because we lose track of all the things that we designed in our mind. And it's nice sometimes to go back in your journal and be like, oh wow, I wrote this a year ago and I have this now. And that is a really nice point to practice gratitude in that moment. And a lot of times we forget that aspect for sure. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that this was helpful. I think you have beautiful energy to look forward to. Yeah, let me know what you think. Other than that, I'm going to leave it there, and I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care.